ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, X-Wing players, and anyone who is potentially interested in X-Wing. My call sign is BatMando. If you are new to this game or just getting back into this game, then this is the place to be. Hopefully this is not your first time to our channel, but if it is, this is a channel that is dedicated to the pilots and boosting the skills of the pilots for those of us who play X-Wing's miniature game. So today's episode is going to be building lists for competitive scenario play, and it's just my 2 credits. Some people will say that this is some good information, and some people will say, well, I appreciate the information, but it's just not the way I fly, and that's fine. Figure out what works for you, but this is just my own 2 credits, and let's go ahead and start with it. Now, we have 4 types of different scenarios out there, but what I wanted you to mostly take a look at with the 4 scenarios is that for a majority of them, they have a lot of markers or a lot of things, such as assault at the satellite array. You need to make certain, it's kind of like King of the Hill, make certain you have more people around a satellite and you get credit for it. Chance engagement, everybody's getting a point for it as long as they're within range 0 to 2 of it. And then salvage mission, pick up the crates earlier and then get more points, but if you get hit with a crit, you're going to have to drop the crate. And then, of course, we also have scramble the transmissions, which is basically like, plant your flag, make certain to guard your flag, otherwise someone's going to take your flag down and put up their flag, and then they get the points for it. So, now, let's go ahead and talk about what do all these things have in common. So, now, objectives. That's what they all have in common. They all have objectives. The markers, with the exception of the chance engagement scenario, all the objectives are spread across the play mat, and in which case you have to deal with 3 to 5 of those markers, which means essentially you are dealing with 3 to 5 bases to cover. So because if you're playing assault at the satellite array, which is basically like King of the Hill, you have to keep a certain number of ships around to make certain that you get the upper hand on the number of ships there so that you can get the point for it. Now, the next thing I would like to go ahead and cover real quick is that you have a choice when playing scenarios, and your first choice is going to be kind of the obvious one of go after the objectives, go after those markers, get those points. And then you have the flip side, which is a little bit more devious but also effective, and that is you go after the opponent's ships that are going after the objectives. So if you know that you're going to be moving later because you have like pilot skill 5 or 6, etc., and you know that some of those other ships like the 4s and the 5s before you, maybe if you rolled well on initiative or didn't roll well on initiative for that matter, so you know that they're going to that objective, so set up your ships in a kill box formation so that you can focus fire on one of the ships that are there, and then you just took points for blasting that ship out of the sky. So now, squadron flexibility. So when you're building your squadrons for scenario, you basically need 4 different things, and they are speed, maneuverability. You also need to make certain that they have enough firepower and that they are evasive enough to dodge out of arcs and not get shot at as often. So now what this is all building up to, ladies and gentlemen, is that it's kind of become the standard that all lists need to have, say, 5 ships. So where do you start? Well, let's go ahead and talk about the 5 roles I would say you need in order to have an effective scenario play list. So you need to get yourself the following. You need to get yourself an ace pilot. Those ace pilots, they need to be a fast and flexible threats. They got to be able to get in or jump in. They got to be able to do damage, and then they got to be able to bug out quick. So they're basically like an alpha strike. They come in, they do the damage, and then they get out. And then you have your blockers. So in order for you to know where your target is going to be, line up a ship to block the ship that you want, and then come on in with your ace pilot afterwards and then get out of there. But a blocker is highly effective when put in correctly because it's a party pooper. So what I'm going to say is you normally have, say, a lower initiative, say like a 3 or a 4 on that one. But what's absolutely awesome about them is that they get in front of, say, like an ace pilot Oh, make certain they're durable because they will be taking range 0 shots quite often. So, but you get them in front of, say, an ace pilot like Darth Vader in the TIE Advance. Well, you got to be able to block that opponent and shut it down. How do I mean to shut down Vader? Fly right in front of him, fly in his flight path, and make it impossible for Vader to complete that maneuver. Reason why? If Vader's only option is to take a stress and a focus at that point in time, then there is no target lock, which if you know the TIE Advance X1 pretty well, if you have a target lock on the ship you're shooting at, you go from 2 attack dice to 3, and then you might have FCS, so you can reroll 1, and a whole bunch of other tricks to modify your attack dice. But if you got a blocker that is shutting down that ship, or, Vader for that matter, then that's what that ship is designed to do or that's its role, to block the person who is becoming the biggest threat. Now, in addition to the blocker, you need to go ahead and get yourselves a couple of brawlers. Maybe just one, but honestly, 2's not that bad. So this is basically like your club bouncer. So your whole entire playmat is the club at that point in time. You're just trying to make certain that your side is having a good time. But if you see anybody on the opposite side that is that's getting a little bit too rowdy, you just go ahead and shut those 2 down. So, and 2 people that I can think of that you need to shut down, at least from the Empire, or if you are opposing to the Empire, if you have Backstabber and Mauler in a list you are facing, then you need to shut those 2 down. You need to split them up. You need to find a way to go ahead and keep them from being the threat that they are together. So that's why you get yourself a brawler. Now, you also need to get yourself a runner. This could be an A-Wing, this could be a TIE Fighter, this could be whatever is fast and has a 5 straight on its dial. 4 straight with a boost even works too. So as long as you can just keep this thing running, because they are your objective grabbers. So like for instance, salvage mission, if somebody drops a crate and you can go over there, pick it up and take it off, as in like take off with it behind you in tow, then do it. That is what the runner is there for. If you are even hopping bases between, say, the first satellite and the second satellite in assault at the satellite array, just to keep you to be the king of the hill, then that is what that runner is doing. So now, last role I would tell you to go ahead and get into your list is going to be the shooter. This shooter can be from a far distance or it could be up close and personal. So you want to get somebody who can line up, get that shot from range 3, maybe throw a trick shot on them and add some more attack dice to it, but like just get someone who is a reliable shooter. If they need to get up close and personal like any of the things, then go ahead and do it. So, but those are the 5 things that I would tell you to try to fit into a list. Now, some of those ships may end up doing double duty or have dual responsibilities, because maybe your ace pilot needs to be your runner a couple of times and grab that objective. So now let's go ahead and talk about not just my 2 credits, but we have a couple of other people that I play with, and Artificer Wolf says build an overload list. In other words, all of the same type of ships. Like build a list that's nothing but blockers and close down every other ship. You just run your ships into your opponent's ships, keep them with only the red focuses as actions, and then effectively shut down any synergy that they had. You can also have, say, like a swarm of runners where all the runners are like, I'm just going to say A-Wings, where all the A-Wings are just flying by everybody. Maybe they have a turret shooting out the back, but they keep on flying past everybody else. And then they're just picking up objectives and dodging your arcs and just infuriating you at that point in time. Then you have Mr. J, who takes the second choice when it comes to objective play, and that is he is going to forget about the objectives. He is going to set up some kill boxes, and when the opponent ships come to that Marker, he's already hunting down the lower initiative ships and taking whatever number of ships that they have and reducing it one at a time, possibly even two. So in which case, this is why he builds a group of standalone aces. They don't have to fly with each other. They don't have to fly in formation. They just have to fly around and kill everybody else. So now, that being said, hey, I hope this is helping you out. We're going to ask you to please help us out. I'm a teacher who's trying to turn this into a side hustle, and for every like that you give us, for every subscription that you can get us, I am absolutely thankful for you. So this is a video I shot to kind of prove the 5-ship standard that I'll be talking about here in just a little bit. This is round 4 of a game that I was just practicing, and now First Order is the first player, as you can see there. But look at how the ships are moving so that they can stay close to the objectives. As a matter of fact, the one that you see in the top of your screen there, that TIE Fighter, all it's going to be doing for a while is flying around that object, that objectives, the marker, the whole entire time. You also see that the Black Sun, the scum player in this instance, is going over and did a barrel roll just to say range 1 of that. Now there's a lot of marking going on here and there just so that we can, you know, I got to move a ship out of the way just so that I can put another ship there, etc., etc. So, but as you notice with all the ships that have moved, the 2 scum ships to the right screen, they stayed within range 1 to make certain that they're getting that point. The one there in the middle might actually have range 1 between the 2 of them, but I doubt it. And then you also will see that the First Order is trying to do the same. They're trying to stay within range 1 of the ship. So there you see Talonbane doing a 2 Talon roll, and he's trying to stay within range 1 of that objective because there's also going to be other ships that are close to it as well. And then you see that I got Guri there in the Star Viper and doing Guri things, but still staying within range 1 of that marker. Luckily, this is not an action. This is just, you're there, you have it. So, quick draw, just moving in right there on the other side of that gas cloud, has the turret in the back, and now it's time for shots. Now, one of the other bonuses that I want to tell you regarding having 5 ships instead of 4, I mean, not to sound like, you know, Captain Obvious here, but First Order is going to get 5 shots instead of 4 shots, just standard. And if you also will see later, someone's going to shoot quick draw, pull some shields or get some shields off of quick draw, which means that instead of 5 attacks this round, the First Order ends up having 6 attacks this round. Now, I will also notice or make notice of the fact that, yes, Blackout is facing the wrong direction. So the information I just gave you is off by 1 because Blackout's not going to be able to shoot at the scum this time around. But again, they're still getting 5 shots instead of the 4 that the other ships have. Now, lots of attack dice rolling and everything else. It's the typical attack round, engagement rounds, checking for range, checking for arcs and everything else. Then, as you can see, we're going to go ahead and have Guri take that shot into quick draw. And then quick draw does receive a shield damage, which means that quick draw now can shoot out the back at the other Kirax, who I think in this one was Graz. No, it was Victor. Sorry, Victor Hill. So now, lots of stuff going on here. This video as a whole was not worth releasing to the channel, but sections of it were just like, okay, this is a good way to prove that 5 ships are better than 4. Now, you may be saying, well, maybe it's the quality of the pilots that you put into the 4. I'm not going to disagree with you. Some 4 ship lists, especially with ace ships lists, as in like, if you can get a whole bunch of 6s and they come in and reposition and can kill all the lower initiative ships that are on the opposing squadron, go for it. But that also means that if you get locked in a box and you lose that ship, then you are down to 3 as opposed to the other person who has anywhere from 4 to 5 ships at that time. So now, as you can see, lots of damage going back and forth. And then we enter into round 5. Both of these groups are tied at 6 at this point in time. And Black Sun is going to be first player, aka Scum is going to be first player. And you are going to see them, or you're going to see both squadrons for that matter, trying to stay in a position where they can stay close to the objectives. Victor Hell using overtuned modulators and getting 3 calculates and a stress at that point in time. Nasty card combination, by the way. If you haven't ever explored it, check it out. All right, then you see that Graz is going ahead and doing a 1 bank, staying close to that objective. And then we have a bump from the First Order also trying to stay close to that objective. So sadly, that means that neither one of the factions will get credit for that unless there's another ship that is within range 1 of that same marker. So it would not necessarily, so no one's going to get credit for it. So now you can also see that Blackout is staying close to that marker to get the objective points there. Now you will also notice that the TIE Fighter up at the top there, I believe that's DT-798, they went ahead and just did a hard turn, and they're just going to continue to do a hard turn. So now you have my evidence to support the 5-ship standard, in which case I hope that was helpful to you. All right, now, also, don't forget we have the online resources for you. Every video description has these links to these websites so that if you need any assistance with anything that I haven't clearly explained, you can definitely look it up yourself, or you could drop us a comment in the video and I will reply to you as soon as I can. By the way, follow us on Instagram, friend me on Facebook, and we very much appreciate you watching us. Thank you for watching, and we thank you for your continued following of, or we thank you for watching our channel and keeping up with us. We definitely would appreciate it if you drop us a comment every once in a while and tell your friends about us. So, in which case, thank you so very much. And as always, BatMando out.